Hey, everybody. I want to talk about parental undressing and also redressing. I want to kind of put things into perspective and give people hope and a new lease on life regarding what to do when your children end up moving on in their life, whether it's they go to school, they get married, they travel abroad. And then we're left with the what now? What am I going to do with all this time? Who do I invest in? Where do I put my focus, etc.? Because naturally, children eventually grow up, move out, and do their own thing. And there comes a point in time when we're left, we have an empty room, or sometimes they leave their stuff behind. It's the what do I do now? And when you have children, it's almost as if you're removing layers of yourself, kind of like one of those bloomin' onions. And you come to find you become mentally and emotionally naked. It's as if you are stripping away part of who you were to make room for your children and what they need. And you kind of put yourself to the side and you make sure they have everything first and foremost, because of course they need us 24/7, little on. And so you find yourself stripped. They're gone, and you feel completely naked and vulnerable, naked and afraid. So what now? Well, you basically shed layers of yourself. They're gone. What do you do? And you find yourself saying, gosh, I am sitting here. I am sad. I am lonely. I don't know what to do. And what you have to do is you have to redress. You have to find things to do where you're starting to clothe yourself with interest, hobby, friends. You're putting on a sort of newness about who you are. What you loved to do before, you can start to do now. Don't get me wrong. When I was younger, I would go roller skating. We had a skate university in town in West Dallas, Wisconsin, and I loved to go ice skating at our local mall at Mayfair Mall years ago. We had an ice skating rink on the first floor, and people on the second floor could watch you ice skate and twirl and things like that. And I was unafraid to do those things. And as an adult, I took those things up. I went to our local National Pettit Ice Center, started ice skating. I fell, I hurt myself, and I said, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I went, instead of roller skating, I went rollerblading, and I hurt myself. I can't do this anymore. So I realized I'm not as stable as I once was, and that's okay. I'm talking about physically stable. I am mentally and emotionally stable. But I started to take up hobbies. I had to start to put on new layers, wear new clothes, try out new things. I started to take up hobbies. I went back to college. I took classes that I really enjoyed, which was history of the Holocaust. I took up Africology, the study. I took various classes that I was intrigued with, and I learned a lot. I joined a crocheting and knitting group every week where I was surrounded by other women. I also took a quilting class. But I want to say that what you have to be most careful of when you join groups or you get into different organizations or you volunteer, quite a few people have relationships with their adult children and grandchildren, etc. And it can be really touchy when you're estranged from your children, you're sitting in a group of 5 to 6 other women, sometimes 12 to 20, and they start talking about their kids and grandkids and what's coming up and their daughter's having a baby, and you're sitting there kind of on your own little island thinking, what am I going to say? And instead of me saying, well, my daughter's walk out of my life, I normally don't say a whole lot. If they ask, do you have children? I say, well, you can gauge depending on how you want to answer. Sometimes you say no, because if you say, well, yes, we don't have a relationship, the whole mood in the room will change. And so I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I just simply say I don't. You can say I don't have children, I don't have grandchildren, or I can say, well, I have a stepson, or I do have a kind of a, I have a daughter. My old neighbor girl, she's like an extra daughter to me. So I say, well, I have a daughter, and her name is Maria. So you could talk about the children you have in your life that may not necessarily be your children, but have you've adopted along the way, quote unquote. So it's a you eventually start to redress yourself and you have new layers. It's kind of exciting. So I hope this helps, and I'll be back.